Okay, so I'm gonna actually go ahead and get started here. It looks like we've got 11 people on, and I know earlier when I looked, we had like 10 registered, so that's good. Um, so what I'm gonna do is, if anyone's ever been on a Zoom conference before, I'm gonna actually mute everyone so that we're not trying to talk over each other. If you have any questions during during the webinar here, just let me know. You can unmute yourself. There's a chat function. There's all kinds of different things that you can do. But you should be able to unmute yourself as well. Um, so I'm going to do that now. Okay. So hopefully everyone can see the screen that says the virtual phone banking training. Is that, now that I've muted everybody, let me unmute again. Can everyone can see that screen?
Yes.
I can see you.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, I'm just on the phone.
So this is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to kind of walk you through the steps of how a virtual phone bank works. I know there's some folks that are on the line right now that have done virtual phone banks in the past. And, you know, and certainly this will be hopefully a refresher for those individuals. And we'll also give you some information a little bit towards the end of it as well about there's always concern about doing phone banking from home. And there's a couple different ways that you can use your own phone. You can use your home phone, you can use your smartphone, whatever you have, and be able to make those calls and actually not have your number come up on someone's caller ID. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that works as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to switch over to a different screen here, and you should see now the screen that says Open VPB. This is the screen that you will see when you get a link for a phone bank. So, and I'll show you in a minute where you can get those links and how you can go about doing that. So once you plug in the link into just a regular web browser, you go ahead and hit Get Started. The next thing that'll come up is it'll ask for your action ID. If you've used VoteBuilder or you've used the virtual phone banks or anything like that in the past, you probably already have an action ID. What you would need to do is just plug in your normal email address, your password. If you don't remember your password, obviously, you can click forgot your password. If you don't have an action ID, just simply go to the Create an Action ID account, and it will come up and it'll ask for your email address. You'll create a password. It'll ask for your name, your first name, your last name, and your phone number. And the reason it asks for your phone number is because there are times where when you log into your Action ID to verify that it is in fact you, they will send you a 6-digit text with a code within that text that shows you exactly what it gives you that code. Then you plug that into the verification, and that'll take you into whatever you're trying to access in the VoteBuilder account. So I'm actually going to go back here because I have an account. So go ahead and log in. And see, here's a good case of where it's asking for the verification code. So now I get to wait. There it is. It pops up usually within a couple seconds on whatever phone number you've registered. So if you're using your smartphone, you want to make sure that you have that readily available so that you can access that code. And once you verify it, it will take you into the virtual phone bank. And this is a phone bank that's currently active. This is one actually that Bernie helped put together, helped wrote the script and helped pull the information in. Right now, the phone bank that we are working on is specifically contacting any voter over the age of 60, any super voter, super Democratic voter, let me put it that way, over the age of 60, asking them if they know that they can vote by mail. Obviously, we know right now is a time where people are not going to want to be getting out to the polls. They're not going to want to stand in long lines. Hopefully we won't see what we saw last November, where there were people waiting in line for an hour or more at the polling places. But we know, being a presidential year, turnout would have been strong regardless. So one of the things that the state legislature and the governor passed this year was the ability to vote by mail. And if you're not familiar with that, you go to votespa.com, you request a mail-in ballot. Your local board of elections will send you that ballot. You fill it out at home, send it back. Very similar to an absentee ballot, even though both the mail-in vote and the absentee are two separate applications and two separate ballots. It's a very similar process if you've ever voted by absentee. So this is going to, the whole point of this particular phone bank that we're doing right now, like I said, is to reach out to those older voters to say, have you heard about the fact that you can vote by mail? If not, this is how you can register to vote by mail. And as I said, avoid those long lines, avoid going to the polling places, especially given the current climate with everything that's going on. And look at that. Bernie is on top of things. The script has already changed. So if you had not heard, both the state Senate and the state House today, the state House yesterday, the state Senate today passed legislation to move our primary date forward by, I think it's 6 weeks. So the new primary date for Pennsylvania is going to be June 2nd. And that legislation is on its way to the governor. I don't think he's signed it yet, but he's pretty much guaranteed that he's going to sign that so that we can push those primaries off a little bit. So for the no excuse mail-in ballots, oh, excellent. Carol Stowell, who's on, just posted in the chat that Representative Boyle has proposed legislation as well, sending an invitation to every Pennsylvania voter to do a mail-in ballot. So, this will be something that if that would pass, that would be very helpful as well, to try to keep as many people away from the polls as possible. And that's, again, really effectively what we're trying to do with this particular phone bank that we're using. So let me just kind of walk through some of the basics before we kind of dive into the script here. So when you open up the phone bank, the virtual phone bank, you'll get the person's name here at the top. You'll have their phone number, and of course, that's the number that you'll be calling. And it lists their age and their sex, and then on the side here as well, their party affiliation, where their polling address is, what precinct they live in, and of course, then again, their preferred numbers there as well. If there are more than one, if there's more than one individual that lives in that household, typically that name will be across the top here as well. You'll see a tab that has, like in this case, Ronald Huffnagel, and then there would be another name there that would say, say Susan Huffnagel, if that person lived in that household. So as many people live in that particular, at that particular address will show up in that particular tab there. The script is very much like what we're used to seeing when we've done traditional phone banks. It just lists out, the basic information that you're trying to get across. So, obviously, hello, may we speak with, and then kind of go through your whole spiel there of have you heard that you can vote by mail? Are you planning to request a mail-in ballot for the election? Now, the other thing that you can do here is when you ask that question, it'll give you the opportunity to choose an option. And if they say yes, they're going to do the mail-in ballot, you pull down that menu and you click mail ballot. If they say they're going to vote at the polls, you vote, you obviously click vote at the polls. And if they say they're planning on not voting, you can click there as well. And then, the next question here, we typically add this a lot of times to a lot of our scripts about, are you registered? Is your registration current? Have you moved within the last 6 months that maybe it's not current? Is someone in your household? Do they need a registration form? And if the answer is yes, obviously you click yes. And obviously if it's no, you click no. So pretty straightforward. I just realized on a side note, every time I move in on my screen here, there's a reason why I'm sitting dead center, because the stains behind me. So every once in a while I see him kind of peep over my shoulder there. So and then of course, back to the script. Once you hit the answer for that, you finish out the call and thank them, and tell them they can get more information about our party through the information that's listed there. So say you come across somebody on the line here, all of a sudden you pop up and you see Ronald Huffnagel's name here, and I don't personally know Ronald, but say that I did, and he's my arch nemesis and I don't want to have to deal with him. You can skip this call. You can go to go onto another call, and you just hit skip and it takes you to the next person. So once you've filled out the answers here, and I'm just going to do this, and I'm not actually going to hit it, but once you've filled in answers, you click the button that says save and next call. And that information then gets populated right back into Vote Builder. So if we would decide that we wanted to send out a reminder about the mail-in ballots, or we want to send out registration forms, or whatever we might want to do here, we can generate that information then and get in Vote Builder, have a list, and we can send that information out. Or we can actually do a second phone list. Say in about 2-3 weeks we decide we want to do a follow-up to this call. We can go through, and everyone that says that they're going to vote by mail, we give them a call back and say, have you requested your mail-in ballot yet? If not, do you need an application? Here's the website again. So we can do all kinds of follow-up with that information there as well. So like I said, pretty straightforward here. Obviously, if you are making the call and you can't reach the person, whether you get a voicemail, whether it's just the phone rings and no one answers, you just click the I couldn't reach button here at the top, and that will then take you on to the next person as well. And then, of course, when you're finished, you do stop making calls. And the reason why this is actually really an efficient way of doing this is because on the back end, there's every one of us that's on this call right now could have this link, and we could all be making the same phone calls. And if we're making those phone calls, so that we can avoid duplication on those calls and calling the same people, as we are going through this is a live document essentially. So every time we hit save and next call or skip, that information can populate then into somebody else who's making calls. It can populate into their list as well. So instead of, if you remember doing that with the old paper lists and everything, sometimes you'd have list after list after list, and if you were doing a second round, you'd have to generate those lists again. This is actually a way that makes it a lot more efficient, make sure that there's not as many duplicate calls going out to the voters. And it definitely helps with getting kind of real-time data, real-time information back to us in our system. So I see here Nancy had posted in the chat, should we leave voicemails? Absolutely. What I would suggest in that case is if you do get a voicemail, just still follow through with the script, kind of adjusting it obviously as you go, but just reminding individuals that they can register for a no excuse mail-in ballot, and if they have any changes to their registration or they know anyone who needs to register, they can go to the votepa.com. So Carol asked the question, if someone doesn't have a computer or internet access, can they call and request a ballot? Yes, absolutely. They can call the Board of Elections in York and request a ballot. And actually, that might be an adjustment that we need to make to the script here, so that if they don't have internet access, or certainly they're not tech savvy and they don't want to go on the internet and request it. Yeah, absolutely. Carol, we can put that phone number there in the script, and we'll get that adjusted as soon as possible. So Bernie said she's making a note to add that. So she's our script technician here for this particular one. So thank you for taking care of that, Bernie. So again, that's pretty much it for making the calls themselves. We can generate our own lists. We can generate our own scripts. We've been working very closely with most of our regional directors to try to get them up to speed on that as well. But right now, we're just in the process of where we are trying to, within the party, generate the lists and generate those scripts so that we can make sure that we are kind of on target with the I'm sorry, I'm just reading. Marta just wrote that the county government website says the Board of Elections is not accepting mail-in requests for absentee ballots or mail-in ballots. So that's strange, because I thought that they should be able to request those through the mail. She's saying they're saying it's only online requests. So we're gonna have to double check that. Certainly, if that's what the county's doing, that's not making it easier by any means. So especially for our older voters. So we'll follow up with that and see. She said she saw that on their webpage yesterday. So that's something we'll definitely check into and make sure that there is that option available to them. Because again, obviously, if you've done a request for a mail-in ballot, it asks for your driver's license number, some personal information, obviously your home address, those types of things. Things that I don't know that, as a volunteer, we should be asking for over the phone to input for someone. So it would be a lot easier if we could, if they had the ability to mail them in. So Bernie wrote, well, individuals can take note of people and offer to mail them to them. So okay. So I think, though, Bernie, I think what Marta was saying there was, it sounds like that they're not, that the office itself is not actually, no, I'm sorry. So they're not accepting the requests for the absentee ballots and the mail-in ballots. They will accept the application if it's mailed in. I think that's correct. So yes, so actually, no, Marta says no. So so we can talk about this offline as well, because I'm not 100% sure. They're not accepting mail-in requests for ballots. So yes, so they're not. It sounds like the Board of Elections will not accept if someone calls them and says, "Can you mail me an application?" No, you're saying actually for everything. So all right. So all right. Well, this is news to me. So we'll get this squared away and figure out what's going on there. So so for the time being, we'll leave it in the script as just online only. And then if someone is not able to do it online, we'll get that question answered and out to all of our participants here tonight as soon as we can. So anyone have any questions specifically about the script, the process for mail, for calling folks, anything along those lines? If you do, you can just unmute and.
I do.
Okay.
If somebody doesn't want another phone call, you guys have called me 6 times already. What can we do?
That's a great question. We can actually put that as an option. We could put a do not call option on the list here on the script. We don't have that currently, but I believe that is an option that we can add that would then get put into the system. If that's not an option, what I would recommend is just make sure you capture that person's information, and we can go in and do that manually in Vote Builder so that they don't get any more calls. Because you can do that in Vote Builder where you click that they don't want calls at all, and we can definitely go in and do that manually if we have to. Other questions regarding the script or the process here? Nope. Okay. So like I said, when you're done with the script and you're done making calls for that day, you can just hit stop. You can leave your session, and then you're all done. Logs you out. If you decide then, later that day you want to make more phone calls, you use the exact same link. It will log you back in as long as all those calls haven't been made. It will log you back into that same list, and it'll start you from wherever the next record is that is on that list. So you can access that list as many times as long as that list is active, and like I said, as long as there's calls to be made on that particular list. So I'm gonna, Bernie, did I miss anything with that, or you've kind of the expert at that? Let me unmute you here. There you go.
Okay, no, you just might want to mention if they don't want the information I sent you about people not,
Yep.
are you going to mention about not using your phone number and stuff?
I am, absolutely, yep.
Okay.
So here it is.
Yeah, and Marta, I don't see anything online about that. How'd you find that out?
Okay,
I was scrolling through, I was looking for other email addresses and I was looking at county offices, and there was a whole section about what the different county offices are currently doing in the coronavirus. So they were talking to staff in different offices, and that's where I came to the Board of Elections, where they said they were only accepting online applications. I'm looking for it right now to see if I can pull it up again, tell exactly where it is. Because I was surprised and went, oh, okay, but it was very explicit. So let me see if I can find.
Okay. So if you do find that, let us know. And I will reach out to the Board of Elections as well and see if we can find that information. So, okay. So as Bernie mentioned, there's again, and I think I mentioned this at the very top of the webinar as well. If someone's not interested in having their phone number shared out, if they're publicly making these calls from their smartphone or what have you, there's you do have the availability here. Whoops, let me go back to use what the star 67 option. And the way this works is before you make a phone call, you would actually add star 67 before that phone number. So again, those numbers that we were just looking at, say this is one of them here, and you're making that call, you would just add star 67, the area code, and the phone number, and that will block your number from the person that you're calling. Now, there's pluses and minuses to that. Obviously, the plus is your information, your personal phone number isn't out there, and you don't have to worry about somebody trying to call you back or something like that. The downside is if you do that, it's going to come up as a blocked number, and it may be less likely that person's going to answer the phone. I don't know. This is a time where I think people are going to be happy to be getting phone calls, so hopefully they will answer the phone regardless. So like I said, pluses and minuses to both of those, but that is one option that you have. Another option that's available, and this is actually the one that I use, is you can use Google Voice. Google Voice allows you, if you have a personal Gmail account, you can go to this website, which is called voice.google.com, and you sign up for a Google Voice account. And what that does is it generates a brand new phone number for you that you use through the Google Voice app on your smartphone. So for example, if I go into my smartphone right now, and I do find the Google Voice, Got to find it here first. The Google Voice app. So you probably can't see it. I got to turn my background off. Otherwise, it blends in with the screen here. So let me do that. Let me get rid of my White House background here for a minute. So, and I'm not sure if you can see it or not. It's probably not, but it on the screen when you download the app, you just log in like you would your Google account into the Google Voice app, and you can download that at the the App Store, through the Google Store, pretty much wherever you would download an app normally. And then what that does, like I said, is it gives you a brand new phone number. You go in, you make that call with that brand new phone number, and whenever it comes up on the caller ID, it will probably still come up with your name, but it will come up with that alternate phone number. So it will not be your personal phone number that shows up. It will be the actual Google account. Now you got to, like I said, you got to use the app, got to go into the app and dial through the app to make that call. So there's a few more steps to that. But at least it provides a number when it comes up on the caller ID, and it means that people won't be calling your personal number then that way as well. So, Kathy just wrote that when they were making calls for Jess King, they were coming up that they were actually from Jess King using the headset. I'll have to double check how that works because I'm not 100% certain. I'm not sure though. Well, actually, they were using the Vote Builder, so maybe there's a possibility there is something through Vote Builder where we can do that. But I'll double check that and get back to you on that as well. But we do, like I said, I know we have a couple options there that allow you to kind of hide your number if you wish. So. So Marta's added some information there in the chat box about mail-in ballot applications can be submitted online. The offices are closed to walk-ins. So, I would guess that right now the online option is the best way to do it anyway. And I think essentially what they're trying to say there is that there's no one in the Board of Elections office right now to accept those applications, so they're not going to get processed if they're mailed in. If they're working remotely from home, like most of us are doing, or many of us are doing, I should say, that is probably why they're advising to go the online route. So, all right, so back to the numbers. Like I said, you add that *67 option or the Google Voice option. And Kathy, thanks for sharing that information about Jess King's campaign. We'll figure out if that's a possibility of something that we can do as well, so that when you call, it would come up through through the if you're using your computer or your smartphone to have make those calls, that would come up that way. So the last thing I have here is just that, how do you get the lists? And as I said, there's several people that have training on how to make those lists right now. So it's something that we absolutely have multiple people trained across the county that can create these lists. But right now, like I said, we're kind of prioritizing our what we're doing from the party standpoint on getting people registered, getting people mail-in ballots, and reminding them obviously of the primary date. For those that don't know, the party doesn't endorse candidates. So in those, the contested primary races, which we have several of this year, rather than calling and saying, get out and vote for an individual candidate, we feel this is the best use of the party's ability and party resources is to be encouraging people to do the mail-in ballots. And again, making sure that they know the new deadlines, the new dates, everything that's changing over the course, actually really just now over the course of a matter of hours, how much information changes. So there's a couple ways that you can get lists. You can either email info@yorkdems.org. We will get that request and send the list. We'll send you the link to the call list there as well. You can call the office phone number, the 812-1200. While there's no one at headquarters right now because we're closed down as well, we have been checking the voicemail remotely. So just make sure if you're calling there that we have some way that we can get you the link. So obviously email is probably the best way, or if we can text it to you or whatever, we can do that as well. And then our website is yorkdems.org. It's not on there yet. It'll be up there this evening. There'll be a link where you can go into a form and request the information then for a list as well. So we'll have that up and ready to go this evening. So at this point, this might be a dangerous thing to do. I'm going to actually unmute everyone. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, to share. If there's anything we didn't cover, let me know, and we will try to get that answered for you here.
This is Carol Stowell. I just wanted to say, I work with March on Harrisburg, and we lobbied for the bill that put through this mail-in ballot. But there was the state Senate passed a 42-page amendment yesterday unanimously. And we're looking at what the details of that, but it has a lot of things to do with voting during the coronavirus. So we ought to be checking that. I know my leaders were paging through it for the details today. And so hopefully there'll be something in the paper in the next couple of days about what this is, and it's expected to get through both the House and the Senate and the governor's approval.
Okay, thanks for that update. I had not heard that yet, so that's good to know. So thank you. So other questions, comments?
Is there a good time of day for these people who were on your list to?
Well, at this point in time, I think regardless of what lists we're using, whether it's this list or we're using other lists, because I'll go back a second here. Right now, like I said, we are reaching out to voters that are 60 and above, asking them if they've registered or if they've requested their mail-in ballot. The intent then is to, once we get through that list, we're going to focus on all ages, 18 on up, in York City, because that's obviously a higher concentration of Democrats. And then from there, we're going to expand out to some of our key targeted areas throughout the county as well. So as we go through this list may change with different demographics and different areas that we're focusing on. To your question, though, specifically, I think, again, the fact that we are currently in this environment of not many people leaving their homes, or hopefully not leaving their homes if they don't have to. I think any time of day is good. I typically would not start too early in the morning. I'd say 9 a.m. or later is probably good. And then typically when we've done phone banking in the past, good rule of thumb is usually probably not much later than 8 p.m. in the
It automatically is set up to not start in the morning, I think before 9, and you have to be off of it at the latest, I think 9. You can actually set times on your phone bank, so it can't be used. I actually have times in there that you can't use it between after a certain time or too early in the morning.
Awesome.
The other thing is, if you have Vote Builder, I did just post this, and you have access, the phone bank will show up right on Vote Builder on your front page.
Yep.
The link will be right there for you.
Great. Thank you, Bernie.
I have
couple of the good rules of thumb, like I said, I would avoid meal times. Obviously during the day, 12 to noon or noon to 1, maybe 11 to 1, those are a little bit more sketchy. And then usually 5 to 6, 6:30, something along those lines at dinner time. Now this is from the voice of experience here. If you're talking about the current list that we're using, and I don't mean to stereotype anyone that's on this call in this assessment here, But because this is a list of 60 and above, a time to not call is between 7 and 8. And the reason is because I have been yelled at more times making calls to these individuals between 7 and 8
Jeopardy.
because we're interrupting Wheel and we're interrupting Jeopardy. I kid you not. I have probably
Jeopardy.
every phone bank I've ever done, I've had at least 2 callers yell at me if I've called them between 7 and 8 for that very reason. So, obviously, not everyone's going to fall into that, but it's one of those things that when it happens to you the first time, just know you've been warned. They actually sometimes are more angry that you call them during that time than they are during mealtime. So, but yeah, if Bernie's got those times set, then 9 to 9 is usually, I think that's a good rule of thumb. And like I said, meal times, just, kind of be cautious of that because obviously everyone eats at a different time and no one likes to be hassled during meal time. So the phone banks will be operational during those times, but you can kind of call at your own risk at that point. So any other questions?
Chad, have we talked about anything about texting in the future?
Yeah, not we have not gotten into that quite yet. I know there's some options that we've looked at, and there's actually some options that we can utilize through VoteVoter as well. We have not gotten into that yet, but that is something that we're looking at because obviously with the inability to be knocking on doors, we've got to figure out ways, inexpensive ways really, for us to be able to reach out to these voters. And texting is going to be one of those ways. So as soon as we have that up and running, we'll do another session like this where we can talk about how that works and kind of walk everyone through the process.
Question about if we have another person who's interested in doing this, do we just have them email info@yorkdems.org?
Well,
Absolutely.
Chad, are you going to send out the link to all the regionals and to the executive committee?
Yes, I am actually, and that's a good point too. If you actually have the link, when we send the link to you, you can share that link. That link is the same for for this list. Again, like I said, once we get through this list and we've made these calls, and if we generate a new list, there'll be a brand new link that'll be generated. But until that time, you can share out this link to as many people as you know, and if they're interested. Again, they have to be able to log in. They'll have to get the action ID if they don't have one already. But that's a very straightforward process. So yeah, so if you actually, once you get the link, if you want, if they want to do this, then yeah, sure, absolutely share this.
Especially committee people. I mean, this
Yep.
is a good thing for committee people to be doing right now.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have any idea how many super voters over, what is it, 65 that are on the list? I mean,
I'm not-
Yes, it actually, I wasn't specifically asked just for super voters when I was asked to do this.
All right. Yeah.
Carol, there's actually, there's 26,000 people in York County. That does not include the North, because in the North, we're already doing a bunch of postcarding and other things up here on our own to get people. So I didn't want them getting multiple messages and calls. We're also calling all the Democratic super voters because we have elections going on up here in the North. We're calling right now for Shanna and for Doug all across the North for super voters. So
now, when you say you have elections, you mean for the primary?
yes, well, again, we were planning because of it being April.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
we were already, and matter of fact, I'm sitting here writing postcards. I did my first 100. I'm on a second batch of another. Yes, you have to, if I can show you, we designed our own postcards. Our postcards are vote in your pajamas. And actually, we're using them. Marta's seen them because the Maryland group is actually sending them out to Springettsburg for her.
Well, you hold it up on your camera and show it to us?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And it has the QR code for Votes PA. And then on the back, they're handwritten. In this case,
Wow.
somewhat legibly by me. and then has all of our club information on the bottom.
Oh,
And then
great.
At the same time, I am also doing these. So, but we have 3,000 postcards going out to voters ourselves for our club. And then we also have we're working with Sam Fulham. Sam Fulham is doing integrated phone banks. So we have an integrated phone bank that has Doug on it, her, Eugene, and Shanna. But I'm doing that as an individual, not as a regional, because it's 2 contested elections. But I am sending that link to a bunch of friends and people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's great.
Good, great work. Great work.
So
And Marta's doing, Marta did labels and met people, and she's working with the people in Maryland. They're helping her get the same, they liked our postcards, so they're using the same basic postcard without all the stuff about our club. But Marta's working with the Howard County Indivisible, and they're sending postcards out to get people to use the mail-in vote ballot too.
Huh. Great.
So Kara, I wanted to go back to your original question here. I called up Vote Builder and went into the page where this is. The list that we're calling to has a little over 26,000 people identified on that list. So, obviously there's not been too many completed yet or attempted. As we continue on with this, we'll have more. Those percentages, that information there will change. But this list is pretty substantial. It will take quite a few people to knock this one out initially. So
Yeah. And again, reminding all of you to spread the word about Boyle's Bill 2367, which would automatically send a letter to every registered voter in Pennsylvania asking them, would you like to vote by mail? If so, return this card and we will send you an ballot. So.
Well, and just so you know, you guys all seen the information on the, I know not all of you are in the 10th district, but that Sam Fulham has put together on the COVID where to go. It's wonderful, fantastic. She's done an incredible job. I have posted it all over the Northern York multiple times on the Northern York Dems. I've been sending it to friends.
I was going to say, anyone that's on the call here tonight, I know Bernie, you had forwarded it to me, so I'll make sure we get a copy of that to everyone so you can share that out.
Because when you're talking to people, this is something else you should maybe think about saying. Hey, are you okay? Are things okay? Do you need anything? And this has an incredible amount of information on where to go for free food, how to file for unemployment, all kinds of things. So, and it actually is broken down by county. So, and she has been doing she is arranging information to do lit drops in the city of Harrisburg with this information, and also in the city of York. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Well, that's Sam does that kind. She's amazing.
Yes. So, any other questions, comments? Anybody need to vent about anything? Need to scream? If you need to scream, we'll all mute our stuff. So.
Hey, to me, everything's pretty much normal.
Yeah.
I live on a farm. I never see people anyway, except for, politically. And
Training.
Yeah. So, and training and, there's been some really nice, good training out there. I just went to, I just did a virtual training with the Democratic Training Group on digital organizing. And I'm actually signed up for a second one. And they just did, Erica Caldwell, who's just was telling me about a training she went to that I want to look at, which has to do with, again, how to reach out to people during these times.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of places are offering a lot of sessions right now. I did just post a bunch I'll send them out to the regional people and stuff, but I did just post some on our Facebook page. I'll post it for the rest of you guys, but it was very good. I like the digital 101 training was really good.
Good.
Yeah, I will say I've been pleased with the amount of organization that I'm seeing, and how quickly it's come together, from various organizations, up and down nationally to locally. I think, if anything, one of the things I've been telling folks is that, this is going to change our political landscape for a lot longer than this virus is around. This is going to be something where best practices, different techniques and everything are going to be used for years to come. And I think it's really going to shape how we move forward in political campaigning. So, we're open to, especially at the local party level, we're open to whatever suggestions you have, any recommendations. If there are trainings, if there are webinars, if there's, even just kind of an online type of town hall type session that you're interested in seeing, let us know. We have the technology, obviously, we're able to do that through the Zoom, platform that we're using tonight. I think we can bring up to 100 people into a meeting, a session like this. So we're more than happy to try to organize as much as we can, moving forward. So again, let us know. Absolutely, we look forward to kind of changing, how we do things as well. So, any other questions for tonight, or are we?
No, if you want to go to a town hall, Shanna's having one at 7:30.
Yes, she is.
Virtual, yes, Facebook town hall on a Zoom town hall on education tonight. She's picking different topics each week.
Oh, good.
Chad, this is Billy Miller piping in. Nina Mott's hosting actually a tele town hall tomorrow, and it's actually the topic is really all about COVID-19. So we've been meeting with Nina, and just Nina's a doctor. She's got has a background in science and medicine. So we were talking to her about looking at this time that we are, and kind of there's so much misinformation out there. So we're putting together a call tomorrow, and it's going to be hosted by Nina Mott, also a former Philadelphia Health Commissioner from Philadelphia, Dr. Walter Sue, and another doctor will be on the phone, as well as Congressman Dwight Evans and Congressman Brendan Boyle, kind of to give the federal perspective and, where the set-asides are and kind of what you can expect with the new stimulus package, and just kind of having an information with, to deal with best practices. So I think the call is going to generate potentially 30,000 listeners tomorrow.
Wow.
And what I'll do is I can email you, Chad, any of the information and stuff. You can kind of send it out to the network in case folks want to join in. It's just going to be some really good subject matter experts on there just talking about the virus. And it's really not political. Let's kind of all bond together and survive this thing first, and let's figure out what our world looks like politically when we get through this.
Great.
We're just trying to.
I'd like to be on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything like that you folks are aware of, any additional trainings or anything, let us know. We're happy to share them out through our social media. We have our email blast that we can send that kind of information. So yeah, anything like that. My direct email address, if you don't know, is cbaker@yorkdems.org. So that last screen where I showed you that showed the info at yorkdems.org just changed to cbaker, and that is replace that. There it is. Just take that info out and replace it with cbaker, and you got my email address. So, and we'll be happy, like I said, to share any information like that, because as Bernie said as well, there's been a number of different trainings and opportunities. The state party is going to be hosting over this weekend, and I think the following weekend, they're going to be doing a virtual phone bank all across the state, kind of similar to what we're doing now as well. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go to padems.com, and there's information on their website. And they've been doing a number of different trainings and stuff as well. So Yes, absolutely. Anything like that, share with us. We would definitely be happy to share that out.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you for this, Chad. This was very helpful.
Thank you very much, Chad.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for jumping on. And as I mentioned, earlier, as we have some other things that come up, we'll do more of these. If nothing else, it's always good to just connect and see virtual faces, even though, we can't, can't give hugs and handshakes right now, but we can at least give, a virtual smile back to each other. So,
That's true.
again,
Smiles work perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. So again, thanks for jumping on tonight. I appreciate it. And like I said, any other information that you have, please feel free to send it on to us, and we'll be happy to share that out. So, all right.
Chad, I
Well,
do
thank
see
you,
one-
folks.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Chad.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All
right.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
everyone. Stay safe.
Take care, everyone.
Bye now.
Yep, take care, everybody. Stay safe. Please stay
Yeah.
safe.
Stay safe.
Chad, are you recording this?
Yes. Yep.
You're going to show it? You're going to have a link?
Yep. We can have it posted. Yep. Absolutely.
Perfect. Because there's some people I think would like to do this.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely. We'll get it posted, and I'll make sure that everyone has the link to it that when we post it out there. So.
Super. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
very
Al.
much. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, it was
Bye.
great to see you.
Take care.
Good to see all of you too.
Let's go get that orange guy. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.